No mai hoki mai anō tātou ki te wāhanga tuarua o tēnei ahiahi. So welcome back to our second part of the afternoon. Just quickly, sorry, could you bring up the presentation?
You keep chatting while I do it.
We're just going to have a quick introduction of who's in the room. So myself, I'm Fred Wilson. I'm one of the co-facilitators today. Next to me is Miranda O'Connell, who we all know is our other co-facilitator. We have Mark Russell in the room helping with our tech. So he's our tech guru for the afternoon. We have Karis here, who's one of the co-coordinators of the Waiheke Marine Project. And also Christine Rahidi in the corner, keeping us to time. So no mai hoki mai anō tātou.
Kia ora, Fred, and kia ora koutou. And for those who are dialed into the first webinar, I'm asking for your grace and acceptance. We're going to slightly repeat a bit, just in case people are dialing in for the first time for this second lot. So thanks to you all for making the time to do this exciting check-in on all the actions that are taking place around Waiheke and around Tīkapa Moana, and in fact around Aotearoa. The tip of the iceberg of the actions that are happening to protect and regenerate the marine environment, showing the depth of care that we all have. So thank you all for joining us. Oh, and I was having a little moment while I check ours. What did I touch?
Interesting.
So it looks like we'll have to go nice and slow, and we'll just do one slide at a time. So a shout out, this is the instructions. For those who have come onto the webinar for the first time, we've got a really cool Q&A function. Because we've got 6 presentations to go through pretty quickly, we don't have time for verbal questions, but we do have time for you to type in your questions for the presenter. So if you're typing in, please note. So for example, you'd say, Paul, what is the best way of getting rid of deadly nightshade? Would be an example. And after Paul's presentation, he will be able to answer your question typing online. So if you can just notice that.
And just quickly, these sessions are recorded and they will be made available on the website later on.
Yeah, and if you have problems with that, you have to talk to Fred and he'll just say deal with it. So thank you. Thanks to our sponsors. Been absolutely incredible, the courage that the sponsors have showed to this movement. People call it's called the Waiheke Marine Project, but it's also really a movement of ways to coalesce this amazing care, and all of these sponsors have been stunning at supporting the project up till now. A little bit of an ad break. We've run out of funds, so this is an example of investors out there. You're liking this stuff, help us keep going. And the endorsement, and again, Dean's going to be talking to the Hauraki Golf Forum endorsement, but we thought it'd be nice to have it on a front page. How cool that, isn't it cool? Yeah.
Awesome.
I mean, like, do you know, this is our little fun part. Do you know, Fred, who's on the Hauraki Golf Forum? Not
I know a couple of people, but don't know to name them.
He knows individuals. Well, I'm just going to name some of the organisations. So we've got Te Poni Kōpere, we've got MPI, Ministry of Primary Industries, and we have DOT, and we've got all the councils around Tīkapa Moana. So it's a big beastie, really. And for them to unanimously endorse the Waiheke Marine Project and its 9 commitments, it's kei te pai. We need to use that leverage. So a little recap, almost 7 months ago, 76 of us got together. Look at those beautiful faces, real diversity of interest. And in the break, we were just talking about how neat it is, that diversity. A hot topic here on Waiheke at the moment is what's happening at Putiki Bay. Yeah. And at the Future Search, I counted up, and there were at least 11 people at that Future Search who are deeply involved in all aspects of what's going down. Some people want marinas, some people don't want marinas, but I think what is clear is everyone wants to take care of the marine environment. So it's finding a pathway that we can do that. We embodied all these principles at the Future Search, and I'm really proud to say that on the whole, we're continuing to embody these principles as we work with each other. It's not always easy. I mean, so honestly, sometimes Fred says stuff that I completely disagree with. Yeah. But we
vice versa too,
but we're committed to it. And so if we can keep taking these, I think my favorite out of all these has to be self-management. You know, if you're being the best person you can be, you're more likely to be a good contributor to when you're collaborating with a whole lot of people. And it's going to take all of us to be able to protect and regenerate the marine environment. So we made these 9 commitments, unanimously agreed to them. I'm not going to go through them because we want to get into our speakers. But if you want to learn more about the details of those agreements, go and check out their website, www.waihekemarineproject.org, and learn more about just what it is we've agreed to. So we are going to get into these speakers now. We've got an incredibly exciting lineup. And for those who weren't able to be on the last hour, I encourage you at some stage to go and look at the recordings of that. And so I'm going to hand over to Fred, who's going to do the introduction for our first wonderful speaker.
Cool. So kia ora anō, no mai hara mai Ella Singh. Welcome this afternoon. Ella will be talking to us about behaviour change towards waste and also rehabilitating seabirds. So kia ora, Ella.
Hello. So get started. A presentation. All right, is that good?
Perfect, Ella, go for it.
All right. Hi, I'm Ella. I'm a Year 11 student from Waiheke High School. I'm speaking today as a representative from Waiheke High School Student-Led Sustainability Group and a volunteer from Native Bird Rescue. So first of all, our sustainability group. We're a small group of students passionate about sustainability. We involve ourselves in a number of sustainability projects and opportunities in our school and wider community, which are related to our year's goals. Currently, we are working on setting up an effective and reliable system for dealing with our school's landfill waste. With the one bin for all waste system our school currently has, our group was concerned with the amount of waste our school was contributing to the island's landfill. Waste that had been transported to Auckland, food waste that has to sit in landfill and produce methane, plastic pollution that ends up in the ocean. To go over it briefly, all things that contribute to the not one but several pollution crises we face. Plastic pollution, climate change, ocean acidification, the list goes on, all providing a massive threat to our oceans and everything else. Last week, we conducted a waste audit where we collected data about the waste our school is producing from 3 of our 12 outside bins over a 3-day period. Helped by Michael Javaris, we were able to break down the categories of waste being produced. Out of the 5.7 kgs of waste collected, 3.3 of which, or 57%, was compostable waste, 1 kg or 17.5% of which was recyclable, and 1.4 kgs of worth, or 24%, only destination was landfill, meaning an estimated total of 75% of our waste could have been diverted from landfill. We are currently in the process of writing up a proposal to the senior leadership and board of trustees to have an on-site compost and compost system and providing recycling and compost bins, which ideally creates a more sustainable alternative to our school's waste. Further along the line, we hope to work with the school's tuck shop to minimise non-recyclable packaging. So if anyone has any input on how we should continue, let us know, especially when it comes to working with our tuck shop and the amount of non-recyclable packaging they currently provide. We are also currently planning a student clothes swap, which would be a more sustainable alternative to shopping and ideally encourage students away from fast fashion. We also hope to continue the work we did last year with our school beehive. Other previous actions also include beach cleanups, climate strikes, plastic-free July, other waste audits, getting the tuck shop to switch to compostable packaging, working with meat-free Mondays, tree planting, helping to protect the doctoral pair that nests in our field, the Waiheke Denmark Collab the Oceans projects, waste stations for school events, and much more. As I mentioned before, I am also a volunteer at Native Bird Rescue. Native Bird Rescue is an organisation on the island that rehabilitates sick and injured birds, native birds. And with New Zealand being the seabird capital of the world, this includes quite a lot of seabirds, which directly relates back to marine life, as the apex predator of an ecosystem that plays a large role in balancing ecosystems, balancing population numbers and spreading nutrients. Yet again, another crucial species to our planet. Native Bird Rescue puts great emphasis on connecting the community to wildlife. The person who rescued the bird gets the opportunity to nickname the bird and receives updates on the bird's process. This advocates about the threats our native birds face, especially seabirds. We do this to help show people the value of seabirds, oceans, and biodiversity in a far greater way than economic value. This is crucial for the better protection of our seabirds and oceans. I've been volunteering at Native Bird Rescue on Saturday mornings for about a year and a half now, and in this time I've had the amazing opportunity to work alongside some of our magnificent species of seabirds. I spent last year helping rehabilitate 5 long-term kōrero from rescue to release. Was a part of a handful of shag releases, pretty much have got to be the part of the rehabilitation process for birds that would otherwise die, to help them return to our environment where they belong and then they continue to play their role in the ecosystem, especially when we are able to release at-risk species of birds back into the wild. Although I have had some amazing experiences, it's also been an eye-opening experience to observe how the health of our oceans is reflected in our seabirds, many of which coming in malnourished, on the verge of starving to death because of lack of food, pierced with fishing hooks or entangled with other fishing equipment, or have ended up being injured as a result of light pollution. Being able to see directly how pollution affects our environment has really put into perspective how important it is to care for our oceans, and has inspired me to follow a career in conservation where I continue to protect our environment. If anyone is interested in volunteering or donating to Native Bird Rescue, go to their website at nativebirdrescue.nz or their Facebook page to find further details. And that's me.
That's just amazing, Ella. Thank you so much. I really enjoyed your presentation, that you gave such a good example, well, a full presentation and demonstration of how caring for the moana starts the minute you wake up in the morning and get out of bed. Because every decision we make, right, from what we're using to clean our teeth, what we might use to, should we get really, really raw? How we wipe our bottoms, so, and how we're dealing with our waste. So that was just completely beautiful. Thank you very, very much. And keep an eye out on the Q&A down the side there, because I'm sure that people will be sending you some questions and you'll be able to answer it as well. So thank you so much. And now I would like to introduce our next speaker. And we know each other well enough that Matt will be hopefully okay if I encourage you to keep within your 5 minutes. Oh, Ella, can you stop your screen share, just so we'll be able to get Matt's screen share? You're not getting grumpy with that one, Matt? And it's my pleasure to introduce Matt. He's been a complete breath of fresh air to the Waiheke Marine Project. The hashtags I've given you, Matt: hashtag fisheries management, hashtags QMS improvements, hashtag learning all the time. So I'm going to hand over to you. Kia ora.
Yeah, kia ora, Miranda. Hashtag thanks, Miranda. And yeah, my skin is thick, so you can stop me once I start rambling. Kia ora te whānau. Post Future Search Hui, Dr. Glenn Carbines and I, bonded by our mutual love of all that's good about fishing and our heartfelt belief that we can see restored abundance in our lifetime, championed the rescue fish policy, which is an alternative, a proposal for an alternative to the quota management system. And we did just a little bit of, to catch you all up, we did 2 public presentations, and then followed up with a specific presentation to the local board, and just ran through the presentation of the rescue fish policy, who it's been initiated by, the problem, and this as a proposal for a solution. So I might just hit a couple of key notes of that presentation, and would really welcome your questions. And the end of this 5 minutes, just in case I don't get to say it, would be to continue the conversation among ourselves. And the Future Search Hui and the Waiheke Marine Project has given the opportunity for collaborative conversations outside our normal comfort group. So as fishers, to be having conversations that are sometimes confronting with conservationists, and the learning potential of doing that is really important. So I really have bought into what we're attempting to do to build relationships, and from that we increase our knowledge and therefore our actions become informed. So ka pai to all those of us who are in this space. Quick couple of slides to cover. So The Price of Fish is a documentary by Mike Barner and is available on YouTube, is also on demand on TV3. And it really is a very good, really well considered documentary. Unlike some of the alarmist material that the Seaspiracy documentary
Matt,
used. Yeah.
Matt, we're sorry.
Sorry, mate.
No, you go.
Do you want us to see your slides? Because you haven't shared them.
Oh, I haven't shared them. Okay, thank you. Back to this one.
We're loving hearing it,
Okay.
and we're already fascinated. So I'm looking forward to the pictures that go with your words.
How's that working?
Perfect. And do it so it's full screen would be awesome.
Okay, full screen. So you're seeing the image, and oh, that might be as big as you get. Is that all right? Can I make it bigger?
Yeah, the button.
Down.
Top right, there's a present button. If you press it back.
So at the top you see a present button.
Yeah.
Push that present, and then it'll let you do the whole thing.
Present a view.
Nice.
Okay, is that working?
Yep.
Yep. Okay, so as I say, don't have time to go through the whole thing. So this is the Price of Fish documentary. I recommend viewing that. It lets you know about the problem of our current fisheries management system. And then Rescue Fish is a proposal, and the ask there is just to sign the petition, which is asking our government to have a look at it, to really highlight the issue, and then to take a look at a proposal. So this has been initiated by Legacy, which is the research and advocacy arm of the New Zealand Sports Fishing Council, affiliated with these other fantastic organisations. The important thing there is that's 37,000 members, so there's a big reach. Quickly, a couple of really cool things that Legacy are also involved in. So I'm what they call a fish care ambassador. So I'm promoting good practice, which includes good practice and care for our seabirds, ourselves, our fish, and then utilisation of catch, which leads on to the Waiheke project, which is a utilisation of what was once fish waste, and a section of society who love fillets, and then utilising the frames and heads and distributing them to other people who recognise that this is the rangatira kai, the good stuff. And you know, what a wonderful utilisation of the whole fish. And that's been an amazing project with the Papatuanuku Kokiri Marae and the OBC Boating Club, and is just growing from strength to strength. And there's the Rescue Fish proposal. So we won't go into all the details. We know through the wonderful work of the Hauraki Golf Forum and the State of the Golf reports that there's issues. Couple of headlines there. The data tells us recreational fishing is actually down approximately 27%, and it may be up a little bit now since people are since COVID. But interestingly also is that 34% increase in commercial activity or commercial take within the Hauraki Golf Marine Park since its inception. We still have a decline in the state of the Gulf. And then we've got some interesting things where, yes, recreational fishers outnumber commercial fishers in the inner Hauraki Gulf. However, commercial has been moving out of the Gulf for some time. But then we see things like a 470% increase in commercial blue mackerel landings. So fisheries management is complex and it's involved, and you can feel like that there's factions who are arguing among themselves. But really, I think we've got room for some real optimism. I'll just sort of quickly touch on, just in this last week, do some Googling and you'll see that the Forest and Bird have won a Supreme Court ruling on the Tirakihi stock, which has, through, let's just call it bad management, has been fished below the 15% of its original biomass. And the ruling there is significant because the judge said that the Fisheries Act 1996 was not followed by the previous minister, and it has implications for all fisheries management decisions. They need to recognise in the first instance the sustainability of the stock. So it's pretty hard to fathom that we have not been operating in that way. So there has been too much influence by fishing interests, and we have referred to the ministers, previous ministers, many of them, as being captured by the interests of the fishing lobby groups and so forth. So we know the problems. Not only are we taking too many fish, we have bycatch and we have benthic damage. So this is all stuff we want to shift.
What would the need, Matt, sorry to interrupt. What would you say are your key needs for fixing these issues?
Yeah, so the conversations we're trying to have, and for the ministers who have the power to shift the levers in favour of ecosystems and restored abundance is a political issue. So the more we inform ourselves, the more we create social license for our politicians to say, we want better. And really, you know, the ability to talk among ourselves and educate ourselves to some of what's wrong and some of how it can be fixed.
Thank you very much. Social license, Fred?
Oh, kia ora, Matt. Firstly, that was an awesome presentation. There were a couple of things that I just wanted to touch on. The rescue fish policy, that sounds bloody interesting, and I'm keen to read a bit more into that. Nice. Price fish documentary, I definitely have to go home and check that out tonight. And continuing these conversations and collaborating outside of our comfort zone is an awesome thing that we all experienced at Future Search, and I think it's awesome that we're carrying that on. And on that note, looking forward to the invite to come out on your boat.
And for all those people who have dialed on, you know, there's a fear in the numbers of 10, and when we watch recording, if you want to learn to salt fly fish, come and chat with Matt von Sturmer.
Thanks,
hey, Matt,
guys.
Can you stop your screen share? That would be great. And then Fred can introduce our next speaker.
Kia ora anō, Matt, and kia ora everybody. Next up, we have Paul Dyson, who's going to be talking about the efforts, the volunteer efforts he's been running on Waiheke, particularly the Mawhitipana Valley Regeneration Project. So kia ora, Paul, and welcome. Just quickly, Paul is new to the Waiheke Marine Project.
No, he's not. That's another one.
Paul, no, he's not. Miranda's just keeping me on my toes. Kia ora, Paul. Take it away.
Oh no, there's another Paul Dyson.
There's more people who are keen on land care.
Right, let me just share this. There it is. And there it is. Right. Kia ora, everybody. Thank you for dialing into this really exciting forum this afternoon. It's great, and well done to the organisers. A lot of work I can see, and it's kapai, fantastic. So I'm going to just give you a quick summary of the Mawhitipana Valley Restoration Project that we've been driving here in Palm Beach area since 2012. And before I go there, I'd just say it was interesting for me after the Future Search hui that, in fact, we realised that we were very closely aligned with at least 4 of the common ground principles: clean water, integrated management, Māori, and learning. Education and introduction to regeneration and native ecology was an important part of our principles. And of course, we're committed to upholding the principles of the Treaty of Waitangi. So where are we? Just a minute, that didn't work. There we go. So if you know Palm Beach and the Mawhitipana Bay, the Mawhitipana Valley is this valley above Little Palm Beach. And as I said, we've been regenerating that. I've been driving that since 2012. Later on in this presentation, I'll talk a little bit about another project that could be happening soon, which is the adjacent Mawhitipana Reserve, which is that part that I just showed in shaded green. By way of background, here's a photo from 1930, apparently, and you can see the valley over here. Can you see my cursor? I don't know if you can see that.
We can, it's perfect.
Keep your eye on that tree right there. That tree is a Pahutakawa that's probably 500 to 600 years old. These stands of Tareri, that one died when the road was modified in 2004 when the council changed Corey Road over here. This one and this one were largely intact until 2 years ago, when sadly drought has taken out many of those old growth Tareri. There is the same sort of area, different angle, but there's that Pahutakawa I pointed to, and you can see the state of the valley even as recently as 1982. And you can see the old growth Tareri stands there, but this is all gorse and bracken and honeysuckle and all sorts of horribles, woolly nightshade. Just for interest, you can see the pine forest of Mackenzie Reserve right there back in '82, and look at Atawhai Whenua and over here at the just opposite the ferry terminal. A lot of change since then. This is a more recent photo, 2015. I found this recently, an aerial shot showing the same area, and that tree, beautiful old Pahutakawa, is still there, but you can see that this is what the result of regeneration is doing. That's a forest in development. Over 18,000 trees have been planted there. Here it is in context with other reserves. This is important for the birds, of course, because the birds don't know where the boundaries are, and it's nice to have a corridor like this that's being developed. So we have a connection for the birds right throughout this region, from Newton Reserve to Miro Valley. So, of course, one of the most important aspects of this work is weed control. We've had hundreds, probably over 300, 400 people volunteer over the years helping us take out weeds. It's a never-ending project, but once you get to a certain size, a certain growth of canopy, the forest looks after itself. So there's probably 60% of the forest now looks after itself largely with weed control, but on the fringes, it's still very challenging. Predator control, we have dozens of bait stations and a couple of stoat traps in the valley, and we charge those bait stations in synchrony with Te Koroe or Waiheke to make sure we're keeping those predators under control as much as possible. Planting is obviously another huge part of what we've done. There's no great areas left to plant. There's a lot of infill planting to go, where short-term species like akiak and pittosporum have died off after 8 or 10 years, so we're replanting in some areas. But largely the big planting sessions have been done. And apropos of the Waiheke marine environment, one of the great achievements that we've had in the last 10 years is the restoration of this wetland that leads down to Little Palm Beach. If you look at Mawhitipana Bay after a massive storm, you'll see orange, huge amounts of orange sediment coming down from the other two. Well, largely the main one is the one that comes down to, forgot the name of the bay, the one around to the east of Palm Beach, which has the new development above it, Waiwata Estate. That turns the bay orange for days or weeks after a massive storm. this wetland that we've restored filters all of that out, so we don't get any orange coming out of the stream at the bottom across crossing Little Palm Beach. A great achievement, we think, but a big challenge on the interfaces between the wetland and the forest to keep the weeds at bay. This is not a good photo because it was pouring rain at the time, but here you can see a flood with the tiny trickle of a stream. It's about 3 meters wide at the bottom there, and still we weren't getting mud taken out. All filtered by the bulbochinus reed, native reed. We've recently connected with the community, so we share the valley with as many people who want to come, particularly with the Waiheke Walking Festival. We've participated twice, taking groups through the valley and nearby reserves. And again, we'll be doing that this year. You can see a photo there of the group from last year, or perhaps that was the year before, looking up at the regenerated forest. And that's a good image to show you that's the old growth Tareri, which has largely died off now. Last year, that's mostly gone. So, but this is all the new growth, which is up between 8 and 10 meters high in most places. But wait, there's more. So we, with Judy Cowie, a neighbour, we initiated a community-led project a few months ago to regenerate the reserve next door, which was then owned by or administered by Auckland Council. We built a project proposal and draft plans for health and safety, weed control and planting, and put that out to neighbours and friends in the community. And we ended up with over 60 people who've signed up to be part of that. And we are just in the process of communicating with Ngāti Poa, who now have been gifted that reserve as part of the treaty settlement. It's not yet ratified by Parliament, but we're waiting for Ngāti Poa to give us guidance on that. If you're interested to help, send me your email address and we'll include you in the community working days for either our valley or the reserve when we come to that, if we come to that. And we'd love to have you join us.
Thank you very much, Paul. That was to the nail, absolutely perfect with your timing. And yes, we'll leave that up while I'm thanking you, so we'll get all those acknowledgements. Yeah. Very, very inspiring. A beautiful example of the integrated management that caring for the Moana absolutely starts at the hillside. And I've had the privilege of visiting your site, and it is beyond really amazing how many hours you've put in there. And I think people will be very happy to take that on. And thank you for the clarity of your need. I'm sure Fred got any comment on that?
Oh, just sorry about my muck up at the start there, Paul.
and it was a very good segue, Paul, in the sense of a lot about, well, a deep foundational part of the Waiheke Marine Project is Te Tiriti Partnership. And so where you've got to the project now is perfect. And I am very confident that that will be wrapped around and taken on and amplified. So many thanks.
Thank you.
So you can de-share your screen, and a little reminder again to the other presenters, keep an eye out for Q&As. There's some coming in there, so it'd be really cool if you type your answers. None of this saying you want a live answer, because we haven't got time for that. Just type answers. Thank you. So it's a real pleasure to introduce Miriana Berger. So Miriana is going to speak for herself. She's going to do her own intro. But I just want to say she's a fellow kaimahi meaning staff, us workers of the Waiheke Marine Project, and she's a complete dream to work with. So over to you, Miriana.
Thanks, Miranda. Oh, one moment. Share screen. So, tēnā koutou, tēnā koutou, tēnā koutou katoa. Ko moihau te maunga, ko Tīkapa te Moana, ko Peako te awa, ko Kiripihi te marae, ko Ngāti Hako, ko Ngāti Pro o Hauraki, ko Ngāti Pawa, ngā iwi e toru e rere ana i aku toto nei. Ko Chris Bailey tōku papa, ko Renee Berger tōku whaia, kei te motu o Waiheke a hau e noho ana, i te puaki au i konei ko Miriana tōku ingoa. So I'm presenting to you all today on the wānanga that we've been having as the mana whenua stream of the Waiheke Marine Project. Basically the story of how I got involved. So in September last year, I got an email inviting me along to a hui up at Soul Cafe. This was for Ngāti Pāoa tangata to connect as an iwi to identify and discuss our aspirations for the future, and as mana whenua for the Waiheke Marine Project. I'd heard about a previous hui at Uapōtaka Marae in Glen Innes from my dad, which had people doing cool things like exploring the seabed via virtual reality headsets, watching mussel filtration experiments, and having some real robust kōrero about the state of Tīkapa Moana and the waters around Waiheke. So I was really excited to meet these people and get in on a part of these conversations. And it was a really good hui. It was actually really quite exciting. And it was a bit of an aha moment for me, because even though I am mana whenua and I grew up here and my family's from Waiheke, I'd never really had an opportunity to make these connections before. So then not long after the Soul Hui was Future Search, which many of you here will know was just an awesome experience. Not only did I get to spend more time and meet more Pāoa people, making more connections, but after the first day, it kind of felt like you could almost see the little sparks of understanding going off around the room, as we realized that although we all had our differences, we also had a lot of common grounds between us all as well. So obviously from that, the 9 commitments were born. So fast forward to April this year, we were able to have our first post-Future Search wānanga, and this aligned with a number of the commitments that came out of Future Search, namely Te Tiriti, Māori learning protection tools, and the Waiheke Way. And this April wānanga gave us an opportunity to invite our wider Ngāti Pāoa whanaunga and their families to come to the island, come to Piritahi and connect with Waiheke. And for many of them, this was their first time on Waiheke. So it was a real privilege to be able to share this experience with them and spend that time together. Each night in the wharenui had us listening to stories of the history of Ngāti Pāoa and stories of our ancestors. And the purpose of our wānanga was also to empower ourselves with the knowledge and the understanding of the current state of Tīkapa Moana and the protection and regeneration activities that are currently underway or could be undertaken around the Motu. And to that extent, we were able to invite a number of guest speakers who came and they presented to us on what they were doing out and about around in the ocean marine space. And having this knowledge really helps us to be informed when we're undertaking our kaitiakitanga roles and our responsibilities as mana whenua. So then in May, we had our planning hui, which coincided with an invite from Sue Naroita and her family to go learn about what they've been doing out in Otata in the Noises, which has provided a beautiful backdrop for the rest of the weekend, where we discussed marine focused activities that we would look at exploring, and most importantly, how we could ensure that these activities met our priorities and what was important to us, such as providing opportunities for us to gather together, like a piripiri te whānau, opportunities for our rangatahi to be involved and to lead wānanga for rangatahi by rangatahi, and working towards restoring the Māori o te Moana. So I guess at this point, the question is, what is our call to action, or what is our need? This mahi is open and inclusive to any and all of our Ngāti Pāoa whānau. You don't have to be from Waiheke or to have lived on Waiheke to be involved. All you have to do is reach out and get in touch. But what we really just need is patience and understanding, really. Just patience and understanding while we work ourselves out and we find out where we sit in the bigger scheme of things. So, ko mutu taku kōrero i tēnei wā, nō reira, tēnā rawa atu koutou, atu mihi nui kia koutou katoa, tēnā koutou, tēnā koutou, tēnā tātou katoa.
Kia ora me te ana ngā mihi e te whanaunga. That's really inspiring to see the work that you've been doing post Future Search, and also how you connected to this project in the first place. It was awesome meeting you for the first time up there at Soul Cafe, and yeah, just awesome to see the leaps and bounds you've made since then. So ngā mihi Miriana.
Ora kazi.
She keeps me on track, just saying.
Good. So our next speaker, who looks like he has his hand up, Mr. Dean Ogilvie. Ngā mihi e te whanaunga anō. Dean is a representative on the Hauraki Golf Forum, and he also wears many other hats. He's also Ngāti Pawa, so he's mana whenua here on the island. And there's a few things that I probably shouldn't say about him, and I'll keep that to myself. So ngā mihi e te whanaunga.
Dean, and you let me know when you want me to share your screen. Shall I put it up now?
Kawai, that's right. Thank you. Thank you, Fred. Tēnā koutou e te rangatira mā koutou mai nei i tēnei rā. Tuatahi mihi atu nei ki a koe e te whanaunga e Fred, mō tō mihi ki a tātou, mō tō tūwhero o tēnei hui, tēnei rā. Mihi hoki nei ki tō mātou whānau, kua whakarite koutou he kaupapa tino nui tēnei rā. Nō reira, tēnei te mihi ki a tātou katoa e tautoko ana te kaupapa nei tēnei rā. Nō reira, tēnā koutou, tēnā rā tātou katoa. Ko wai au, he uri ahau o Ngāti Pawa ki Waiheke, ko uri karaka te hapu ko Dean Ogilvie tōku ingoa. Nō reira, tēnā koutou, tēnā rā tātou katoa. Kia ora whānau, and thank you, Fred, for the intro. And just from the outset, just want to acknowledge the mahi that all the whānau have done today to pull this together. A huge amount of work behind the scenes, so really acknowledging that, acknowledging all of the other speakers today, and everyone who's tuned in to watch and to listen to this kaupapa. So, as Fred said, I'm on the Hauraki Golf Forum. I'm one of 6 tangata whenua reps, so we represent the tribes that have an interest in the Hauraki Golf. We sit alongside representatives from 3 ministries of conservation, fisheries and Te Puni Kōkiri, Māori development, as well as the elected members from all the councils that have an interest or catchment within the Hauraki Golf area, and part of that too is 2 seats from local board, from Aotea and from Waiheke. So the purpose of the Hauraki Golf Forum, really, it is a statutory body. It's charged with the promotion and the facilitation of integrated management and the protection and the enhancement of the Hauraki Golf. And so the 4 big goals, which were updated last year, so we're looking at least 30% marine protection. We're looking at restoration of 1,000 square kilometres of shellfish beds and reefs, riparian planting of the catchment, and ending marine dumping near the marine park. So I guess when you consider the forum's purpose and the goals together, I think arguably you could say that they actually align with pretty much all 9 of the commitments, but probably particularly the ones around Te Tiriti Waitangi, around the one on Māori, the one on integrated management, the protection tools one, the commitment around effective legislation, and the one around clean water. So since Future Search, I can give you an update or a few examples of the forum's actions, particularly as they pertain to Waiheke. So I think Miranda mentioned earlier on that the Waiheke Marine Project presented to the forum at the last forum meeting, which was held on Waiheke. So Miranda and Janine Clark and Miriana all gave an amazing presentation to the forum in the workshop session. And really interesting. You could see how highly engaged and supportive the forum members were, and so much so that they passed an item in the meeting proper to endorse the Waiheke Marine project. So that was a great outcome. Well done, team. The forums also supported the rahui around Waiheke. Our tinana, so a number of forum members were at the laying of the rahui that Here Aroha spoke about earlier on, and the forum wrote to the Minister of Oceans and Fisheries in full support of Ngāti Pao's Section 186A fishery closure application. The forum also wrote to DOC and Auckland Council with regards to the activities around Putiki Bay and to the MP Chloe Swarbrick, with particular concerns around the plight of the korora. So I guess on the question of what does the forum need of the ecosystem, it's the message is quite clear and simple, is just keep going. And this was echoed more recently too at a meeting that I attended with Kath Hanley and Here Aroha and the Iwi Trust to meet the Minister, David Parker, and was able to give him an update there on the Waiheke Marine project. And a lot of the discussion was focused, themed around the relationship stuff and the connection stuff. So much like what Mariana just talked about and what Matt's talked about as well in terms of that effect of, gave a brief update and the commitments around the Future Search meeting, but the effects that it had not only in connecting people to the island and to our environment, but people to people, which is really, really important. And I think this is the stuff that stands out, and you could see that the minister was really engaged around this fact. And as the discussion kept going, he did say that there was a lot of discussion within the ministry at the moment in terms of the aho moana and how they formalise that concept. And that again was the stuff that came through clear in that presentation to the Hauraki Golf Forum. So the ministry officials there also, when we asked them what else can we do in this space, they said just keep going. That was exactly the same message. So I think the point is there's a lot of eyes on this, and I think we've got something special here, and it comes back to these these connections with each other and the relationship. It's always the foundation of anything, and I think if we keep holding to that, we'll get there in the end. As Miranda said, this is never going to be linear, but we just keep holding to that. Can you still hear me?
We can.
Yep. So just a final comment. A lot of you will be aware that this coming Tuesday, the government sea change response plan will be released. And from what we understand so far, I think the forum starts from what we've heard, and I think there was an article in the Herald the other day, some leaked documents. The forum will be calling on the government to ensure that the plan is inclusive of new proposals where things have changed significantly since 2016. And so that this means exactly like what we're doing here on Waiheke. So that's it for me. Kia ora tātou.
Makori anō ngā mihi ki a koe te whanaunga. Awesome presentation. Don't know whether I should thank the Hauraki Golf Forum first or Mariana and her crew for the awesome presentation they gave. It's awesome to get the support from the Hauraki Golf Forum, and also how that presentation moved all the members to endorsing the project. So thank you for that. The other point was that connection of people to people. That's the only way that this change is going to happen. So kia ora for that as well, Dean.
Yeah, great.
We'll move on to our last speaker for this session, Lara Taylor, scientist extraordinaire. And she'll be talking to us about kaitiakitanga and also partnership with the Waiheke Marine project. So kia ora, Lara, take it away.
Okay, so share screen. Is that it? Am I good?
You're perfect.
Can move that over there.
It is pretty small writing though, so you might have to translate for us, hon.
Oh no, you might have to zoom in then, because I wasn't actually going to speak to those things. I was hoping you guys could read them as I went through some other points. But is that too small for you? Do you need me to?
Oh no, we'll be good. You go for it.
Okay. Otherwise, I can send around the slides afterwards as well. There's only a couple of slides. But yeah, okay. So thank you for having me on here today and including me. Ngā mihi nui kia kōrua. And Ngāti Pāua ki Waiheke and the Waiheke Marine Project. Tēnā tātou katoa. Ko Pairoa te maunga, ko Waikato te awa, ko te arawa te waka, ko Ngāti Tahu te iwi, ko Ohaki te marae, no reparo o mātou. So just start by acknowledging our tūranga waiwai at Ohake, which is on the Waikato River up near Taupo, actually. So quite a long way from Waiheke, but it kind of illustrates, you know, the connection from the mountains to the sea, which is really what this project is all about. And what is in the small print there on that slide. It's all about the overall ecosystem and connections, really. And the understanding that it's actually one ocean and one massive ecosystem, I guess. And you know, we had a conversation a few weeks ago with someone about how the world has been divided up into all these different seas and oceans on these maps, but actually it's all integrated and it's all holistic. It's all one ocean, and everything that happens is going to affects each other all around. And that's what I think Motu is all about as well, which I know this project has a big interest in contributing to the restoration of the Motu of Waiheke and the Moana, and then it's going to have implications for wider. So in that, I guess just briefly, our project is about enabling kaitiakitanga and ecosystem-based management. The interest in ecosystem-based management is really, that's the Sustainable Seas National Science Challenge is using that that concept, and they've come up with the 7 principles of EBM, which they're working with, which is in that diagram there on the right. And so we're actually, really, it's about holistic governance and management. That's the current working principles for it. My project is kind of looking at the concept itself. So is that the right concept? Because when we're talking about holistic governance and management in a Aotearoa context, probably focusing on ecosystem-based management is not the best. I think we could come up with something better. So that's still evolving, but the main point is that we want to find ways to really enable whakamana, our communities and hapu around the motu. Yeah, and I'll talk to that a bit more as we go through the slides. But in terms of Waiheke, Waiheke is just an amazing example. And I feel very privileged to be involved with this. And this kaupapa that you guys are leading is just, it's leading for our country, and it's leading for our people, and it's leading for all around the world. Because we've looked at all the examples all around the world, and there's not a hell of a lot of true partnership, true bicultural approaches to learn from. So yeah, massive mihi out to you guys for letting us be involved with you. So just quickly, our research approach, talking about the whole of the system, you know, we've come up with this, well, it's not our approach, but something that Moana Jackson and Margaret Motu and others who are interested in constitutional reform talk about the 3 spheres of influence, being kāwanatanga and crown Crown making up rules in the Crown space, and then rangatiratanga, Māori and, you know, Māori leadership in Māori spaces, and then that relational space, so the rest of it really, where the Treaty of Waitangi is enacted, and this understanding that we need to be enabling within all of those spaces if we want to see true systemic and institutionalized change. So, and then trying to work out, well, how can we do that? So the first year of our 3-year project has been building that shared understanding. The second year, which is starting off next month, is our case study approaches. Unpause what? Okay, hold on, 5 minutes. I'm just doing a presentation, okay? Yeah, and stage 3, we're actually going to be pulling together a toolkit. So a whole lot of tools, strategies, guidance, and examples for others to learn from. So that's just a brief summary of some of the key findings and lessons we got from the first stage and the phase 1 of the National Science Challenge. So there's a whole lot of information and things online if you go onto the website. But I guess one of the key things about that map on the top right is that we had a look, Alison Greenaway and I had a look at a few initiatives around the country, and on that map, perhaps it looks like there's a lot going on there. And there is a lot going on to those communities. But if you think of it as the whole country, there's actually not that many initiatives around the whole country. So they're quite ad hoc and disparate, and none of them actually meet the whole 7 principles of EBM. And I guess a key thing is that what is enabling these approaches is treaty settlement legislation and special legislation like the Hauraki Gulf Marine Park. So that isn't possible everywhere, and it's not going to be everywhere. So how can we learn from those things, and how can we enable that and make sure that it's equitable all around the country? Okay, this is my last slide. Yeah, so as I said, we're really privileged to include Waiheke Marine Project as a key stage 2 case study. And so thank you very much for your support and your interest. And I guess, sorry, I'm just checking my notes because my daughter is distracting me a little bit here.
Henny, where should we give the last word to Henny Wehe?
Anyway,
sorry.
Yeah, but I've got 1 minute.
Okay.
I really want to acknowledge everyone from Ngāti Pāwa who have supported me and enabled me to be a part of this. Hold on 1 minute. Dean, Hiriaroha and Moana and Lucy Tukua, and I just wanted to acknowledge her loss and send our aroha to her. And also Rochelle Kahui McConnell, who passed away, and all the work she's done for the Tīkapa Moana as well, because we worked on the Marine Spatial Plan together. And I guess the thing about this particular Waiheke Marine project is that what I've learned from you guys is that you're already, as we've heard from Hiriaroha and others today, Dean, there's so much capability there already, and there's so much going on. You're so active. So it's a great example for us, but then what can we do to reciprocate and make sure that we are offering something back to you guys? Because for us, that manaaki and reciprocity are key principles. And we talked about something earlier this week, which is that research is a service. So what are we actually contributing to the community and to the Moana, the Tīkapa Moana? And so, yeah, Miranda and I and the rest of us, we've been thinking about ways that the project might be able to work with Waiheke Marine Project. So yeah, hopefully we will be working together on tracking and evaluating the progress and the success of this Waiheke Marine Project using a bicultural evaluation framework. So yeah, really making sure that we're taking that bicultural view and framing and understanding our resources as taonga, and using different metrics to what are usually used in a typical Westernized way. Yeah, so I hope that we will be able to work together on this and have some really awesome mutual outcomes and outputs.
Kia ora. Thank you so much, Lara, and thank you, Heniwai. You want to come back and say hi to us all? This has been recorded, hun, so you'll be able to, in a month or so, go back onto the website and see yourself. Kia ora!
You can't see ourselves. I don't know what I've done on this screen.
So, Lara, thank you so much. It was really inspiring, and I think you touched on a couple of really important concepts. Of whakapapa was a really good one. Thank you for doing a shout out for kia ora Heniwai. Thank you for doing a shout out to Lucy and others that work like this always has whakapapa, and much more than people that aren't alive. You know, you're how far back, Fred?
So far back.
Go on, a bit more than that.
Hard to count. We don't have the time for that, though.
Yeah, exactly. That and that we need to remember that when we're doing this mahi, that we're doing it. We're privileged to have inherited this time to be able to carry on the mahi that was started so long ago. And the other concept I think you touched on really well there was aroha mai, aroha atu. And again, you know, what is that reciprocity for all of us? And we're all starting to remember perhaps what it is with Te Tao, with the Moana, and for us, our connectedness. So we value Sustainable Seas agreeing to partner with us. You're helping us look flash because we're really not. But I think it's a reminder that all of us can make a difference to ourselves and to Moana. So thank you very much. So I just want to make a couple of summary comments. Fred won't believe it will only be a couple because I've been told that I can be a bit verbal. Can't imagine that, can you, Fred? But I think this is, again, just a reminder of why we're doing this webinar. You know, as I said at the beginning one, and I will say for each of the 3 webinars, it's the tip of an iceberg of lots of action on depth of caring for the marine environment. And we're doing this so we can hold up a mirror to ourselves and see just how much actually is happening, that we can take hope, because humans need hope to keep going, and we need to have tenacity. We need to keep going. So the hope helps with that. And it's also to get clarity on what our needs are. And so we can put out that call for other people to help us as well and keep this rolling. So that's the reason for this. So please check in again at 3:30. We're going to have a half-hour break and come back because we've got 6 more amazing presentations. In fact, I'm trying to encourage one that had to miss this morning to see if we can get her into the last one. So please come back at 3:30 and I'll hand over to Fred to sign us off just for this round.
Oh, kia ora tātou. I don't think there's any more I can really add to that, but we'll see you all at 3:30. And that's us.